Hey guys, Shelly here with Sew Shelly Quilts. I'm going to make a bias scarf to go around a little hat that I just made. And it's just such a simple way to do this. I just have a piece of fabric and I did seam it right here because I wanted my fabric 64 inches long times 8 inches wide. Now the math on this, as long as your length is divisible by the width, this is going to work out. So you could have it any length, any width you want, as long as the length is divisible by the width. So here is the trick. All you do is you start by folding this corner down right here. So I've folded the corner down. And now I'm going to sew to here. And when I get here, I'm going to pivot this fabric and then sew the edges together. So let me show you. So here we go. I'm going to just have a 1/4 inch seam. And I'm just going to sew along where I have folded this down. So I've got my edges matched. I'm going to stitch, stitch, stitch. And I'll stop a 1/4 inch from the edge. And I think I've shown you guys this before, but this is the perfect time to remind you that there's little marks on this 97 foot. And the little marks on this side are a 1/4 inch in front of the needle. These are at the needle and these are behind the needle. So since I need to stop with the edge of this fabric a 1/4 inch from the needle, when the edge of my fabric gets to those little marks, boom, right there, I'm exactly a 1/4 inch in front of the needle. So when I pivot, ta-da! Only I'm not going to pivot the fabric. I want this to stay straight. I'm just going to bring this edge to it. So all I'm doing is pivoting this upper fabric. And it just goes around the needle easily. Put my foot down and sew. Now I'm going to sew the length of the scarf. So I'll just pull this together. Somewhere down in the middle, I'll skip 2 or 3 inches so that I can turn it. But I'm just sewing along the edge. This is a great trick because when you're trying to tie something that's not on the bias, I was getting rid of that starty-stoppy over there. Sorry about that. It doesn't tie as pretty of a bow. It doesn't have that fluid mobility. So I'm just bringing those edges together. And it's creating this cool little twist all the way down the length of the scarf. So I'm going to just choose right here to back up. Cut my thread. I'm going to jump forward about, 3 inches, I guess. Just approximate, just enough to turn the scarf. I'll put my foot down, sew a little, secure a little. And all I did then was leave an opening so that I can turn the scarf when I get done. And here we go. We'll just keep going down to the end. I'm just pulling those edges together as I stitch. I'm sewing right sides together. So I really appreciate how many of you are subscribing. That's really nice of you. That means you're interested, so I'll keep making videos. I'm almost to the end here, and it just magically fixes itself. So I'm going to keep sewing until I reach the end of the bottom of the piece on the under piece right here. And when that is a 1/4 inch from the front, we'll pivot the top piece again. So there it is. I'll put a pin so that I can see it well. There's where my 1/4 inch, where I'm going to stop. A 1/4 inch from that pin. And now I just pivot again. So that bottom piece comes out. And I just move that around so that the 2 layers are meeting again. Makes sense? And it's just going to measure perfectly. Easy, easy, easy. It's one of the best tricks I know. You can do this with silk. You can do this with this cotton. I'm going to tie this on a hat. You can make neck scarves. You can just do all sorts of cool stuff. And see, look, at the end here, it just turns out perfect because the length was divisible by the width. Nah, it's a little tiny smidge off. Nothing I'm concerned about. See where I'm about, 3/16 of an inch off. So I'm going to back stitch, sew off, and ta-da. So I'm going to go and press all of this open, the length of the whole thing, turn it inside out, and show you how cool this is, what we just made. So I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Here's the scarf. Let me see if I can zoom out. So I've turned it. I pressed the ends. And I don't know that you can see where the seam even is. There it is. So it goes from this corner. Well, it went here on the inside, and then we pivoted. And then because we were pulling those, that seam goes all the way around. And it just circles around and around and around. So it makes this bias. So it's going to tie the prettiest little bow. Now, I must have been wrong on my math. Surprise! I cut this 8 wide and assumed that because I was going to put it in half, it would end up half, but that's not true. So it ended up 5 instead of 3 and something. And that has something to do with the bias and the angle and the diagonal and the geometry and the yada yada blah blah blah. But I'm not worried about that. But I did say wrong because I thought it would end up in half. It doesn't. The thing you have to remember is the width, the length is divisible by the width. And then your points end up just perfect like this. And the other end like this. Okay, so I'm going to put it on the hat and show you what it looks like. And it'll tie so nice because it's on the bias. This is Shelly with Sew Shelly Quilts. So here it is, tied on the hat. I just kind of fold it down and it just flows beautifully because all that fabric is now on the bias. Okay, there's my project for this morning. Bye.